My name is Maria Plaza, and today I will be talking about the classical piece that I chose, which is Clair de Lune by Claude Debussy. Starting off, I am going to introduce Debussy's past, who he is, where he was born, and some of the works that he did. So, our child, Claude Debussy, is his full name. He was born in Saint-Germain-en-Laye in France on August 22nd in 1862, and he passed away in Paris, France on March 25th in 1918. In 1870, during the France-Prussian War, Debussy's family took refuge in Cannes, where he had his first piano lessons with an Italian musician called John Cerruti. Claude got admitted to the Paris Conservatoire in 1872, where he actually never attended to an ordinary school. He began to compose melodies in 1879, and in 1880 he began to teach piano, and from there he began to travel around the country and the world. Some of the first piano works by Debussy are Arabesques, Ballade, Mazurka, Reverie, and some others. Debussy died owing Durand around 66,235 francs, but in addition to royalties on performances, Debussy actually multiplied that amount and got back so much more than that. He also did work for theater. However, he didn't like the atmosphere in them, so he would never attend to the performances of his own works and where he participated. Now, talking more specifically about the piece that I selected, Clair de Lune was composed around 1890 when he was still a student, and then it was revised and published in 1905. This is the third and most famous movement of his suite Bergamasque, and this is a suite for piano. Talking about the influence and inspiration that Debussy got to compose this piece, he imagined an approach towards hearing music in a way that would let the audience play and explore with their imagination as they listen to the piece. He wrote to his friend and composer Paul Dukas, and he said it would be enough if they felt that for a moment they had been dreaming. At the time where Debussy started composing Clair de Lune, he wrote 3 ideas for this piece, and these were inspired from a poem with the same name by Paul Verlaine from his collection called Fêtes Galantes. The poem can be heard in a way in the sections of the piece. First, there's a whispered melody that breaks into rich yet quiet harmonies. And then in the middle section, with a new melody, it's characterized by the blue note. Then it builds up to the gentle climax before the piece returns to the first theme. And then a reminiscence of the middle section creates a short coda. And then it closes with the same contemplation which it began. After his wife passed away, Debussy gave the rights to his music to Jacques Durand, and then he started revising old works, one of them being the Suite Bergamasque, which was a collection of 4 piano pieces, and Clair de Lune was one of them. During 1805, Debussy had composed other pieces, but he didn't pay much attention to Clair de Lune because of this at the time, which is ironic because this turned out to be one of the most successful pieces through the years that Debussy had composed. Talking about the music elements of the piece, beginning with rhythm, this piece has a steady pulse. It is intentionally blurred by held notes. It uses a lot of rubato for expressive effect. This feels very organic, like breathing like quality rather than a mechanic quality. The tempo changes in the middle, and then it gets fast paced. It also applies polyrhythm, which adds depth to the texture. For example, on the left hand, he keeps a steady accompaniment pattern, and then in the right hand, he plays the melody with sustained notes. Talking about pitch, this piece is composed in major key. It progressively ascends to a higher sound, creating a sense of longing or reaching. And then it gradually descends by the end of each phrase, almost like a gentle exhale. This piece is mostly conjunct, and it balances between consonants with the harmonies, reach on stable chords, and sense of calm and beauty. And dissonance as well, which is used subtly, and it creates like a mild tension without feeling too harsh. lyrics of this piece are mostly soft sound at the beginning and end. And it progressively gets louder towards the middle section when the pacing changes. For the articulation, the change is in different sections of the piece. It uses legato for the most part. And then staccato when it gets fast-paced and more intense. The instrument uses piano only, no voice, no other instruments. For the timbre, it's a very delicate, soft. It honestly reminds me of the color blue, and it's very dreamy feeling. The texture of the piece is homophony, even though it's just one instrument. There is a main melody and a harmony that accompanies set melody. And finally, the form would be a ternary form, ABA, with a coda, as mentioned before. Now for closing this presentation, a fun fact about the composition process, or a fun fact that happened around the composition process of the piece, is that Debussy had an affair with a woman named Emma Bardock. And this was happening around the same time that he composed Clair the Lune, so around 1905. So around that time, Debussy had disappeared with Bardock, and his wife, Rosalie Texier, she found out what was going on and attempted suicide. Because of the situation, all Debussy's friends went very cold on him and would not talk to him. So he essentially got very lonely around this time. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope you enjoyed.